For the record, no hilo Hawaii, waihe maui ame kaimukio ahu mayo. My name is Limare Barrett, and I am here on behalf of Puialoha Aina o Honolulu. Aloha Chair Chang and members of the board. Puialoha Aina o Honolulu, a membership-based branch of Ka'ahahui Hawaii Aloha Aina, also known as Puialoha Aina, strongly urges you to vote to reject or not accept the final environmental impact statement for continued military use of Pōhakuloa. We reject this FEIS and oppose any new lease or retention by the U.S. Army for Pōhakuloa training area. As a Puialoha Aina branch based on Oahu, we speak from direct experience of what happens when the U.S. military is not held accountable. In 2021, the U.S. Navy's fuel storage facility at Red Hill contaminated Oahu's drinking water with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel, sickening hundreds, forcing families from their homes, and threatening our island's most critical aquifer. Despite clear evidence, the military denied, downplayed, and delayed at every step. They still haven't taken full responsibility or completed the cleanup. This is not ancient history. It is still happening. Pōhakuloa is Red Hill in slow motion. Toxic contamination, no accountability, and refusal to tell the truth or clean it up. The same arrogance, secrecy, and violence toward our Aina and people are present here too. We will not let it happen again. Pōhakuloa is Hawaiian national land seized under illegal occupation and bombed without consent. It is not a training ground. It is not the armies to destroy. Enough is enough. We urge the board to reject this FEIS and oppose the retention of Pōhakuloa by the U.S. Army. Hawaii deserves better than military occupation disguised as stewardship. Ua mano mano kena ka Hawaii. We know the truth. Me ka oia i'o, Puialoha Aina o Honolulu. Mahalo.
Aloha, Chair, members of the board. My name is Tia Marie Namahana Masaniai Estrera, a Kanakumoli and descendant of Po Hawaii Pai Aina. I submit this testimony in firm opposition to Agenda Item D1, calling on the board to reject the final EIS of the Pōhakuloa training area submitted by the U.S. Army. Pōhakuloa is part of the so-called ceded lands that were never legally ceded to the United States. There is no ratified treaty of annexation. Any claim by the U.S. or state jurisdiction over these lands is both historically inaccurate and legally invalid. These lands are held in trust, with fiduciary duties owed to the Native Hawaiian people. Approving any final EIS assuming lawful authority over Pōhakuloa without resolving the legal status of these lands is a direct breach of trust and an abuse of power under color of law. Article 12, Section 7 of the Hawaii State Constitution affirms the protection of Native Hawaiian rights, including access to land, burial sites, and sacred resources. Allowing continued military occupation of these trust lands violates both fiduciary obligations and the public trust doctrine. These lands exist to uphold the well-being, culture, and future of Native Hawaiians. Trust lands are not for destruction. They are not tools to justify the fraudulent narrative of military readiness. The continued occupation of Pōhakuloa under this pretense is a smokescreen, masking decades of environmental harm, cultural desecration, and breach of trust. Real security for Hawaii comes not from war games, but from food sovereignty, disaster resilience, and the protection and restoration of Aina. We do not consent to the ongoing desecration of these lands. We call for an immediate halt to this process until jurisdictional questions are resolved under lawful authority. This is not a protest. It is a lawful declaration, a demand for fiduciary accountability, the return of trust lands to their rightful stewards, and justice grounded in law, not in force. With kuleana and in truth, mahalo for your time.
My name is Hema Kealohanui Kaiama Watson. I live in Kaimoki and I'm from Puialoha. I'm a member of Puialoha Aina o Honolulu. I come here today to strongly urge the BLNR to reject the Army's FEIS. In 2021, I was there on Hawaii at Honolulu when the military began using artillery shells. And I saw it with my own eyes. I felt it in the earth. I heard it with my ears. And I saw smoke rising. That day we left only 30 minutes before a brush fire caused by their artillery closed Saddle Road. If we were any later, we would have been stuck on the other side of Hawaii. All that to say, the US military does not have sufficient measures to mitigate or control these fires that they start, and each time they begin one, they put federal and state firefighters they put their lives on risk. The U.S. military started over 1,000 fires in Pōhakuloa from 1974 to the present day. And their fires risk pushing the palila bird, which is endemic to Mauna Kea, to extinction. And they acknowledge this inside their EIS. But what do they ask for? They ask to use more conservation land for training. The EIS is entirely insufficient and should be rejected by the board. Honolulu.
Aloha members of the board. My name is Mamie and I'm a member of Pōhakuloa Aina o Honolulu. I'm here in strong opposition to the document proposed by the U.S. Army as their idea of a final environmental impact statement. I urge you to protect the Aina, honor your duty, and reject this FEIS. This document was created by the U.S. Army with the specific goal of retaining approximately 23,000 acres of stolen Hawaiian land at Pōhakuloa. This Aina is not simply state lands. It has been seized and violently misappropriated under illegal U.S. occupation. The BLNR has both a legal obligation and moral duty to reject this FEIS. We will not allow any further destruction of our homeland. This EIS is a deeply flawed attempt to greenlight ongoing destruction. It is evasive, incomplete, and in violation of HRS Chapter 343. Reject this EIS, protect Aina, honor your duty. As members of BLNR, you would be neglecting your responsibilities. You would be debasing yourselves by accepting an EIS that fails to inform, fails to mitigate, and fails to protect on all fronts. The U.S. Army has for over 75 years proved itself unworthy of being at Pōhakuloa. You have the responsibility to say enough. Reject this EIS. Refuse to rubber stamp desecration. Stand for Pōhakuloa, for Hawaii, and for future generations.
Thank you very much. Kaliko, Laila, Alihilani, Ruth, Kanua, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Aloha no kako, Kaliko na Mokupuna kalahiki ko'uinoa, no ko'ola poko mai au. How's it going, everyone? My name is Kaliko. I'm from Ko'ola Poko on this island. And I'm here today to urge you to reject this proposed FEIS. Many today have shared about the overwhelming lack of concern given to the exorbitant amount of pollutants that have continued to accrue on these aina with absolutely no plan for cleanup. However, I want to give voice to the iwi kupuna who are resting on these aina. It's unknown the exact number of iwi who are in PTA lands due to a lack of sufficient archaeological and cultural surveying in about 2,000 acres of aina, as made clear by the Army just this morning, and is shown in figure 3-8. What is clear though, is that there's a high probability that iwi are resting there, with discoveries made at Training Area 22 in 2003 and in April 2021. There are bound to be more. As Auntie Mary Kavera Puku'i states, iwi kupuna are our most precious possession. As such, they deserve to be treated with the utmost respect and care. It's our belief that when we pass on to that next round, our physical bodies are promised a moi kaua ho'oilo, a rest through all seasons for all time. Tied within that promise is an understanding that these iwi will remain undisturbed, never seeing the light of sun again. The military's continued mismanagement of these aina leave little to no reassurance that this promise will be upheld. With each bullet, with each exploded ordnance, iwi are at risk of desecration, a hewa that is unparalleled. Even with no live fire training, reckless training without proper surveys still pose threats of inadvertent disinterment. To mitigate absolutely any possibility of inadvertently disinterring iwi, there needs to be a more comprehensive cultural assessment on these aina that have not been surveyed yet. It is for the iwi who deserve their moi kaua ho'oilo that I urge you to commit today to vote to reject the EIS. Mahalo for your time.
Aloha Chair King, members of the board, I'm Kaniela Ing. 10 years ago, I was the only elected official to support downsizing the Army's footprint in Hawaii. Both parties and the media came after my reputation, but it was a moral red line I would not cross. That plan would have returned 30,000 homes to local people, opened mass acreage to farmers who grow our food, and redirect billions of our tax dollars to build life, not rehearse war. Now you're being asked to accept the Army's final environmental impact statement to continue occupying 23,000 acres of public trust land at Pōhakuloa, land that they've bombed for 65 years now. In that time, over 1,000 wildfires, endangered species driven to the brink, ecosystems poisoned with heavy metals and unexploded ordnance, missing and murdered Native women and girls, tainted drinking water, and now they ask for your blessing to keep going for decades more. But you know the FEIS is fatally flawed. No new surveys, no serious alternatives, and worst of all, it lied. It lied about discovering our iwi kupuna, the graves of our ancestors, bombing them. Would the US ever allow live fire training at Arlington, at Gettysburg? Of course not. So why is it acceptable to bomb Kanaka Maoli burial land? To justify it is colonial hubris and hypocrisy. But this isn't just about stopping harm. It's about choosing something better. Imagine what we, Kanaka Maoli and Kama'aina, could do with 23,000 acres and millions of dollars in subsidies. Grow food, build homes, restore watersheds, heal trauma. Train our youth not to kill other Native people abroad, but to thrive here at home. That's what public trust land is for, not bombs, bullets, and lives. Just like the US troops abroad, we in this room would die for Hawaii, our homeland. And I trust each of you board members are one of us too. You care, that's why you earn your positions. And to care for land like your mother means not stealing from her, not abusing her, not abandoning her, but protecting her, celebrating her, and living out her legacy. So I ask you, reject this FEIS. Our blood is in this land. So please, stop letting them bomb it. Mahalo for your time, kuleana, and courage.
Thank you, sir. Jubilee?
Hello, I'm Jubilee from Kaho'oa, Hawaii, and I reject this. Guys, $1. $1 they pay. $1. You know what the dollar says? In God we trust. I trust God. I sure do. But God don't like ugly. What the military been doing to us all these years is ugly. No matter what eyes you're looking from. Desecration is desecration. $1. I gave up my $1 for the military to get out. Iwi kupuna more precious than this in God we trust. Ugly is ugly. Wrong is wrong. Us Kanakas matter. Desecration forever. When will it stop? Let me teach you guys one word today. Hopefully everybody know what is pau. You live here on the island, pau. Yeah? One other one, lava. Lava is enough. Just 4 words, military guys. 4 words, 4 letters. L-A-W-A. Lava. Enough. Enough is enough, guys. How much more are we supposed to take? How many Hawaiians gonna die? Like, come on. Make your pono choices. So the nightmares will take you guys' space in your head, okay? Alright? Make the right choice. And give the military back their $1. They can keep them. Mahalo nui. Without no Jubilee.
You gotta take that $1 with you.
No, give it to the military. Give it to the military, because this is what they deserve.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Raquel Rocky. I'm born and raised in Makaha, and I lived in Hilo for 7 years throughout the 90s. My father was a heavy machinery operator at Pōhakuloa. His job was to bulldoze lava fields and remove any trace of the Hawaiian people. He took me to see miles of petroglyphs and hail and burial sites that he was hired to erase, and it broke his heart. Even though I was a kid, he had to show someone. And I asked him why he did this. And he said it's because if you can strip someone of their identity, you can easily manipulate them. He told me to love the Hawaiian people. They are my family. And to never forget, the only people we need protection from is the United States military. Aloha aina.
Aloha aina. For your testimony. Havane, and then Mehana. After that is Imai, Edrel, and Io Kepaha. Anybody else who's inside the room? Okay. Thank you very much. Please go ahead. Is it Havane? Go ahead.
Mai ka aina la aka Pōhakuloa ai ka hakalewa kai o vehena alaula I holani ku ke aloha piha ia kākua pauloa. My name is Havane Rios, and I am a Kanaka o Iwi ki I aloha aina from Pu'ukapu Waimea on the island of Hawaii. I'm here today to call upon you, the members of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, to not accept the FEIS for the Army Training Land Retention at Pōhakuloa Training Area. As this EIS is incomplete, inadequate, deficient, and fails to be in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act and Hawaii Environmental Policy Act, as well as other relevant rules and statutes. You, as the BLNR, have an affirmative duty and legal obligation to protect the natural and cultural resources, public land trust, and rights of the public and Kanaka Oiwi connected with the lands of Pōhakuloa. It is my sincere hope that you are listening to the people with the mindfulness that you are responsible to us today and every day for as long as you hold these positions and thereafter. I stand on my written testimony. I'm here to speak as someone who has lived through the heartbreaking and devastating environmental and cultural impacts of the illegally occupying U.S. military onto my beloved Hawaii. I have lived my entire life of 36 years hearing, seeing, and feeling bombs drop onto the land that I love and am a descendant of, Pōhakuloa. For 2 years, I lived 15 minutes away from Pōhakuloa training area. There are times when my house would shake nonstop because of the impact of the bombs onto our aina. I could feel the bomb in the air before it met with the earth. I could feel the earth brace herself to be split and broken by weapons of mass destruction. I have been into PTA and have witnessed the heva being done to my land with zero accountability and zero repercussions. These weapons of war that are being tested and experimented with between two of our most sacred mountains over our central aquifer are the same weapons that are being sent to Israel to genocide indigenous Palestinian people who are not much different than us. There's no statement or assessment that could ever justify the U.S. military's continued desecration of our natural and cultural resources. We know by now that the violent legacy of the military will impact more than the next 7 generations. I hope this knowledge informs your decision. Please do not vote undecided. With that, I leave you with the last words of my ancestor, Manono. Malamako aloha.
Thank you very much.
Aloha na hoa makamaka mai ka Mokupuni nui o ke awi a hiki ini i hau o ka helelani. O wau I mai ka lani Winchester, he keiki he mamu a kapu hi hewa. Aloha. Board, Chair, thank you for your time and hearing my concerns about today's issue, which is D1, concerning the final EIS for Pōhakuloa training facility. I'm standing here in strong opposition to the approval of the EIS. And rather than stand here and repeat what has already been said, which sounds like from your staff, other state agencies, it seems awfully clear to me and to the audience outside who are waiting very patiently in this very frustrating process of offering our testimony. We have lost faith in the state to represent the best interests of the people of Hawaii. We have lost faith in the United States military to act in our best interests. And so we are here to remain vigilant, to remain strong, to become inspired. And today I brought about 50 young Hawaiian students from Halau Kumana New Century Public Charter School who are watching this testimonies live today. They're outside interviewing kupuna, they're outside talking to the kupuna, but they're outside specifically to be witness to what is happening today. They're gonna tell the story to their children and their children's children about the day that they came to this very important meeting to talk about the future of militarization here in Hawaii, which has killed and destroyed not only our land, our people, but our spirit, our Hawaiian soul. But we are not dead. We got 30 seconds. I want to echo and sort of wrap up my presentation so I can hear what the rest is being said today with the words of George Helm. Famous Aloha Aina, famous patriot, someone who loved and cared and fought for the land, who died for the land. And he questioned the United States military on the issue of national defense. What is national defense when the very thing you're meant to defend, you're destroying, we're killing? An attack against our Aina is an attack against the Kanaka, against the people. And it does need to stop. You're right, I concur. We cannot spend more time, more generations, more of our children outside saying the same story. And I know I've gone over my time, but we've gone over our time. And so I appreciate your patience, board members. I appreciate all your patience, those of you outside still waiting in this terrible, terrible system. But please do not leave. Please raise your voice wherever you may be and continue to resist militarization in Hawaii. Aloha kako.
Thank you.
My name is Maria. from Mauna Kua, also known as Hawaii Kai. I don't want to repeat what everyone is saying outside. The sad and happy thing about this is when trauma happens, we gather. Lahui always gathers. You've seen it on Mauna Kea. You'll see it again if need be. It's kind of embarrassing coming here because both my parents served in that military. They would never agree with this. They both died. They adopted me. One pake, one pure haole, raising a Hawaiian baby from the Queen Kalani Trust of Hawaiian Children. They tried their best to raise me as Hawaiian as they knew. But this system is failing. My kids don't want kids because of the fact that this world is getting more ugly. It's not safe, and it's certainly not safe for Hawaiians or other indigenous people. Thank God we live in Hawaii because of our ethnicities that all have gotten along with each other until this kind of stuff happens. You know, I know the military is trying to do their job, but you can take it somewhere else. Don't do it here. It's not fair. I'm here for Pōhakuloa. I'm here for Aina. She's crying. She needs you guys. I don't really know what more to say. My child graduated Halau Kumana, and you probably heard them. That was her kumu up here. We're taught in a different way to teach our keiki about Aina, because once you malama your Aina, everything else works, yeah? But if you hurt her, we only have one earth. I don't know, Elon wants to go find others, but we only live here. We have to take care of her. So I beg you to just be strong and hear us. Mahalo.
Thank you very much.
My name is Yeshua Keonolani Aquino, and I'm here to tell you to reject the U.S. Army's final environmental impact statement at Pōhakuloa. And this all kind of doesn't make sense to me because it's proven time and time again that the military is not a credible source, right? They've lied to you and they've exploited you in different ways than my people, but they've made you, they've embarrassed you on the highest judiciary level, right? They violate you in your lease terms. And it's embarrassing because you're supposed to protect our land and our resources, right? You were manipulated on a long-term lease. So your hands were tied, you weren't able, you had some grace. That lease is over. It's coming up. It's gonna be over soon. So the time to stop is now. You have the funds, and you have the ability, and you have the power to not only put an end to your own exploitation from the US military, but also protect the public trust, protect our land and our resources. It sounds like a win-win to me, honestly. So you have the ability to look into the past and learn and hold yourself accountable. The truth is that you guys aren't the board members that started this lease, but you're the ones that can end it. That would be the first step in holding accountability to yourself, to the people. Rejecting this environmental impact statement would be the first step to making them leave. And of course my people are upset and they're gonna cry and they're gonna yell at you because we have to sue you to do your job, right? We have to sue you because it wasn't you that stopped the bombing at Kaho'olawe. That was Protect Kaho'olawe o Hana. It wasn't you that allowed cultural access and stopped the live fire training at Moku. That was Ma'alama Moku. And it wasn't you that shut down Red Hill. What's going on? That's the efforts of grassroots organization and my people fighting.
Aloha mai kākou. So I'm Candice Fujikani. I'm an English professor at the University of Hawaii. I teach classes on land struggles in Hawaii. I urge the board to reject this EIS. I've given talks on global climate change in Paris, Venice, London, New York, Norway. I'll be in Geneva and Portugal this year to talk about climate change. So I've read very many of these EISs. The Army's EIS is a dismal failure. If I were grading this as an English professor, I would give it an F. Yeah? And because it's in part because the environmental impact statement does not take the environmental review process seriously. There are two purposes to environmental law. One is to protect what's left, Two is to restore what's damaged. Neither of those things is in the EIS. I'm particularly concerned about the way the EIS is riddled with the language of illogical fallacies to minimize the fact that there are a number of tests that the Army has failed to do. So if you look and do a word search for the word unlikely, it is all throughout the document. That becomes the justification for action. If I were investing in a financial venture, I would not do that based on a study that says that catastrophic effects are unlikely. That is not a scientific conclusion. It's based on speculation. So that is the failure of this EIS. And think about it, I mean, your responsibility as the board is not to gamble away the future of water or of generations of Kanaka Maoli based on the unlikelihood of an event. So when we look at the EIS, it provides an extensive listing of the contaminants, and the hazardous contaminants though percolate through permeable soils. And the environmental impact statement tries to argue that surface contamination is quote unquote unlikely to infiltrate to the underlying localized perch aquifer and more regional, deeper, high-level aquifer, concluding that, quote, surface soil contamination is unlikely to impact public health. Yeah? But when we look at a close reading of this, the EIS also states that, quote, a groundwater sample was not collected from the perched aquifer.
Candace, I'm sorry.
Is that done?
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
I had on 30-second warning. You forgot. You were so taken with my testimony. Oh, man. Okay, I'm just going to say that, you know, I walked to Pōhakuloa, I've seen Pūkoli and Pūke'eke'e. It's incredibly beautiful and sacred land, and the board has a responsibility to protect that land. So mahalo.
Thank you very much.
Oha mai kākou, Pōhakuloa Moai ke ia. I'm a representative of Kauai originally in Ahupua, beneficiary of homesteads. And I'm also a product of the generational trauma of the illegal occupation of the American industrial complex. It has been a violent and ongoing occupation that we have seen abused not only to our aina, but across the Pacific. The Marshallese Islands, Japan at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and a lot of those components that were made in those nuclear weapons. And we have our own people here that were affected by that. Some of you are Japanese as well. Japanese share that ohana as well. And this American industrial complex is responsible for the death of millions of people across the Pacific Ocean and the world. I'm a filmmaker, I'm an independent producer, I'm an advocate, I'm an actor, I'm an artist, I'm a kumu. And when I have these kids coming out here and looking me in the face, and I'm 41 years old today, and you have an entire generation below us, I ask you and I implore you to reject this EIS, to reject the American military-industrial complex. Tourism, we always say, is our #1 industry. But we all know it's the US military. Just recently as a filmmaker, they didn't want to pass a tax incentive for $60 million, right? But yet they pay $1 a year for the last 65 years to commit atrocities at Kaho'olawe, Mana, Makua. The list goes on. And now Pōhakuloa. And I watched marine videos last night because I'm a filmmaker, I've learned visually. And they plan to stay there for generations, is what one of their commanders for the Project Nemesis said. Generations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Introduce yourself.
Hello guys, my name is David. I demand that the board of the DLNR of Natural Land and Resources not accept the final environmental statement for Pōhakuloa training station. 23,000 acres of proposed land is for retention. Why can't we have an equal amount of land for Hawaiian homes? For people who are homeless, for growing food? The language in the EIS leaves no accountability quote one of you guys, the Army may consider adjusting in Appendix 3, Paragraph 5, or avoidance to an extent of the practicable. So your language basically holds no accountability. Pōhakuloa is also the last known home to several endemic kahuli land snails, which is not mentioned in the EIS. 17 different species, all endemic, some poorly studied, live there. Uranium contamination continues to not be a priority, poisoning families Aina and Kupuna. What if we brought you guys a sample of that uranium-filled water and asked every one of you guys to drink it here for us? Would you do it? I don't think so. Would you offer it to your keiki? Hope not. The continuation of war crimes against Aina, but all of that you are doing to that Aina is because you see it as lesser than, you think that you can do it. And then you use those weapons on humans, who we see the US Imperial sees as less than, like in Gaza. E ke akua he pule Aina. He pule ia e holoi ana I ka po ino o ka Aina. A me ka palea e a pau o ka Aina haumia. He pule ia e ho pau ana ina hava o ka Aina a pau. I pau kia e, me ke ka vau, I pau ke kulopia, a me ka peleluka, I pau ka hulialana. Ai laila, ni ho paku, ho amu, hui kala malapa kai, kamauli ho e ke apua. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Aloha, my name is Ikini Lindsay. I hail from Moku Okeahe. And I am a concerned Kanaka Maoli, ready in opposition to agenda item D1. Vai emi, hanai poe, vai au ia, pu hoku ula, pu holo holo ku, kalai eha, pu ke'e. I respectfully invoke these names which signify Ahupua and Pu'u surrounding Mauna Awakea and Pōhakuloa. Equally important, I call forth the names of my ancestors: Thomas John Weston Lindsay, William Miller Seymour Lindsay, George Miller Seymour Lindsay, and George Mahalopiha Lindsay, my forefathers whom traversed these sacred lands while employed by John Parker from 1847 to the 1960s. In addition, in 1881, ascent of Mauna Awakea by Queen Emma and her entourage, William Seymour Lindsay accompanied the Queen due to the knowledge of the mountain and witnessed the ceremonial cleansing at Lake Waiau, where this pristine water feeds the table water aquifer at Pōhakuloa, highlighting the interconnection of sacred site from mountain to sea. These are the mo'olelo, or stories, that are documented and were shared by my kupuna. From pristine land to destruction, the militaries perceive ignorance over the years, protesting for their future while claiming to care about the cultural sites, the land stewardship, and indigenous matters. It is perplexing. How can they simultaneously express concern for the land and engage in destructive activities like bombing and desecration, seemingly without logical explanation? Enough is enough. We demand the military to vacate our islands immediately. The devastation impact of their presence has been war-based and destruction from the world. With the values of Aloha Aina that we as islanders hold dear. We are against war. We are against bomb, against military action that kill and destroy people. With their presence, it is like we, Kanaka, are condoning such behavior.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Fortunately, my kupuna, whom I have presently mentioned, do not live to witness this tragedy. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you very much.
And do the right thing. It is upon you. Mahalo.
Aloha, good afternoon. My name is Holly Chong Gangle. This EIS must be completely rejected. It shows complete oversight and irresponsibility and disrespect for the land of Hawaii and Pōhakuloa. And I hope that when I look in all of your eyes, I don't see you being complacent or just going to. I hope you hear everyone who is speaking to you and urging you to protect this land. The FEIS completely glazes over the pollution of the ecosystem and of our drinking water. It's the same stuff that's happening at Red Hill. It's the same stuff that happens all over because of the US military industrial complex, which seeks to destroy in the face of becoming the strongest, whatever. But it is not you guys have the power to stop this. We have the power to end this now and start healing and restore the lands to our kupuna and our, I urge you to really look deep inside and see there are 5,000 pages of jargon and misleading information and misinformation. And the fact that all of these people are coming outside and many of them have read it shows how deeply important this is to us, how deeply absurd it is that the military could behave in this way. And I hope that you take this into consideration. I hope that you think about this. And I hope for my future and for your future as people and citizens of Hawaii, I hope for the land that it is completely and immediately shut down and the military is forced to immediately evacuate these secret lands all over your time.
Thank you very much.
Is it the two of us? Or who's? Do you want to do two or?
Yeah, no, you can come up.
Okay.
Come on up. You want to introduce yourself?
Good day.
Good day.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, my name is Liko Okalanima. My comments are reflecting on the concept of the perpetuation of the fraud. In my observation, the state of Hawaii is not properly certified local government, as required under U.S. Code Title 16, because of the absence of a Historical Preservation Review Commission to represent the chief governing authority in the Hawaiian Islands. In accordance, which is required under U.S. Executive Proclamation 3309, requirement of equal footing, which is absent and not reflected by the Hawaii Revised Statutes, which uses and enforces apartheid by the use of the term the Native Hawaiian in this Section 106 process, which is a war crime. Under the Rome Statutes of the International Criminal Court, apartheid and the use of that term is a war crime. Okay. And the U.S. military has no perfect rite of passage within the Hawaiian Islands, as can be substantiated under Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, the Law of Nations. Proof of that is why does the military have to come here? Because they don't have the perfect right. Okay? The only proper course for the U.S. military to remain in the Hawaiian Islands is to properly reinstate the authority temporarily yielded by Queen Liliuokalani on January 17th for the U.S. to stand down and take its hands off of Hawaii, and the Commander-in-Chief to acknowledge the ramifications that have yet to be acknowledged due to the conclusions of Congress in the apology resolution.
Uncle, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
And so that it can restore the character of the honest American, President Cleveland, to repair the injury. Well, thank you very much.
Before I start, I just want to, if can, the gardenias are from my mom's yard, and the pala'a is ko'olau poko, but I'd like to just, if you can take one, just pass it down. It's just...
Is it under $25?
Only if you buy them at the store.
Okay, Laulani.
Mayu ka ku'uwa'a, aua paia I ka hale mamalu o ka lani Moku. Aloha mai. Aloha o iko alono, mai ka lihilihi o lau miha mai a. I'm a student at Halau Kumana and a Kanaka Maoli, here to speak in strong opposition of the FEIS. All morning, I have been outside interviewing the people of Hawaii, asking them whether or not we can trust the military to mālama our aina. Not a single Hawaiian said yes.
not one Hawaiian outside had faith that Pōhakuloa was in good hands with the military. I hope that we, this generation, will be the generation that finally ends the destruction of Aina by the hand of militarization. Something we see time and time again throughout Kamoana Nui Akea. We have seen our people die, and I urge you, the BLNR, to help put an end to it. To stop bombing and return Hawaii to Hawaiians. To end the desecration of Hawaiian lands and people, and to return what was never freely given. Oiala, mahalo.
Just introduce yourself.
Aloha mai kākou. My name is Harmani Seleni and I'm a junior at Halau Kumana. I stand before you not just as a student, but as a Kanaka speaking for the Aina that cannot speak for itself. I'm here to oppose the continued bombing and military use of Pōhakuloa, a sacred place that has suffered enough. For decades, the U.S. military has treated Pōhakuloa as a sacrifice zone, bombing sacred Aina, leaving behind explosive remnants of war, and disrupting land that holds deep cultural and ecological impact to our people. Pōhakuloa is not replaceable, nor it is extendable. It is sacred and alive. It is home to endangered species, Wahipuna and Iwikupuna. Continued military use is a violation not only of the Aina, but of our rights as Kanaka. The military spends $1 a year for Pōhakuloa, and what have us Hawaiians received in return? Contamination, destruction, and silence. There's nothing that can justify more bombing, more cultural harm, and more desecration. I stand here today to say stop the bombing, restore the Aina, return what was never freely given. I urge the Board of Land and Natural Resources to reject extension or renewal of military use at Pōhakuloa. Let this please be the generation that chooses healing over harm. Mahalo.
Please go ahead.
Aloha kākou. My name is Kona Kaimehela Ikela. My ohana comes from Kohala. I am a student currently in the 11th grade at Halau Kumana Public Charter School on the island of Oahu. I am in strong opposition of the renewal of this lease. These lands hold deep cultural, historical, and spiritual significance to me and my family. Yet for decades, they have been used for live fire training, leaving behind dangerous debris and pollution. Pōhakuloa has been damaged physically and spiritually through actions that show a disregard for the Aina and for our people. These are not just empty lands. They are home to stories, to kupuna, and ecosystems that cannot be replaced. No lease extension or dollar amount can undo the harm or justify this desecration and destruction. You have not acknowledged the full impact of military occupation on our land, our health, and our culture. It ignores the long-term trauma caused by militarization and the lack of trust in an institution that has repeatedly failed to care for the lands responsibly. As an appeal, it is time to say enough. Like the return of Ko'olawe, we must now stand together and demand the return of these lands to the people of Hawaii. The lease should not be renewed. The Aina should be restored, and future generations deserve to inherit a land that is thriving, not one that has scars of occupation. In conclusion, I respectfully urge the board and Governor Green to reject the FEIS and all negotiations regarding military lease renewals. Let us move forward with Aloha Aina, with pono, and with accountability. E ola ka Aina, e ola na kanaka. Mahalo nui. Ola.
Two students? Or the next two?
Is that all the Hello Kona students?
Can I go with you?
Yes. Is that all the Hello Kona students? Can I just mahalo you for bringing your students in? This is just a great civic lesson and opportunity. It's really important for us to hear them, and just appreciate you taking time to be
Mai ue kula na kila. Iki no ti.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Wawaho onona. Nohali of Ikemanava, Kawe Pōhakuloa Hanau. To the Board of Land and Natural Resources, Don S. Chang, Riley Smith, Doreen Napua Kantam, Karen Ono, Amy Kelly Barnes, and Wesley Kailiun. I'm speaking directly to you. As a Kanaka of this Pai'aina, I feel that I have a kuleana to speak on behalf of myself and my ohana when I say that I reject the EIS and to demilitarize the occupy and protect Pōhakuloa. Simple as that. Thousands of acres are continuing to be poisoned, destroyed, and desecrated because the state continues to allow and enable the U.S. military to take space. Space that Kanaka, that Aina can utilize for ai, vai, and kaia'ulu. I urge you to be understanding of the fact that this will have a lasting negative impact on not only our Aina, our people, and our kaia'ulu, but also our future generations. The U.S. military already has taken enough from Kanaka. They've already traumatized not only the generations that came before me, but I'm sure the generations to come will feel the same kaumaha as I do, and as my tupuna did. I am willing to fight for this Aina till my last breath, but let me ask you this. Why am I continuing to fight a fight that should have ended way before I came along? Why should I need to fight for that Aina that already belongs to us? So from Palestine to Pōhakuloa, Aina back, army out, and Don Chang reject that thing.
Very convincing. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Okay, you did a good job. You did a good job.
Okay, yeah, mahalo for this. Because it's for them. This is the reason why we stand strong and vigilant in what is Pono. Mahalo for allowing us to be here today to speak our heart to you folks. And I hope it, I know talk your heart, I hope it did. Because they definitely will talk minds. Ooh, I gotta put my eyes on it. Ooh, aloha Chair and members of the Board of Land and Natural Resources. My name is Regina Nanipua Peterson. I submit this oral testimony to you folks in unwavering opposition to this final EIS at Pōhakuloa. This is not just a decision about land. It is a test of values, responsibility, and courage. Pōhakuloa is not a blank training ground. It is sacred Aina, rich in cultural history, ecological importance, and ancestral connection. For decades, it has been bombed, desecrated, and contaminated under the watch of the US military. And now you are being asked to extend that lease through this final EIS. Let us be clear. The final environmental impact statement, while procedurally submitted, fails to fulfill the ethical, cultural, and legal obligations owed to this land and to the people of Hawaii. Procedural incompletions versus substantive failure. Yes, the Army has published a draft of the final EIS. Yes, the Army has conducted a 45-day public comment period. Yes, the Army has outlined several alternatives and listed mitigation strategies. But the content of the FEIS does not align with the truth on the ground. it fails to acknowledge or resolve the presence of unremediated contamination from the DU. A potential violation of the Clean Water Act, 33 U.S. Code 1251.
I'm sorry, I have to ask you just.
Oh my gosh, I started by just mahalawi them. That was my start?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I would like to just say that to call to true stewardship. Yeah, you were not appointed to uphold the status quo. You were entrusted to be caretakers. Right? This is your moment to rise in defense of what is right, not what is easy. You hold power not only in your vote, but in your values. Stand firmly, stand courageously, stand in pono for Hawaii. Right? Reject this final EIS, end this lease, and begin the healing. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you very much.
David Frankel. I think this is the third DLNR meeting where you've talked about Pōhakuloa that I've been to. I got scolded once for not being properly respectful to the military. And we see with each meeting things are building. More and more people energized. And you will have more meetings, and you're going to get bigger and more contentious. I want to ask that you make sure that if any of you are going to make a motion to deny the EIS, that you please consult your AG and make sure that you review Hawaii Administrative Rule 11-200.1-29F. Because it's important when you make your motion that you have particularized reasons and findings when you make your motion. Your motion can rely on the staff submittal, but I think it should do more than that. I think you need to specifically say that this action of the militaries is not simply an administrative action. It's not a real estate transaction. It is a proposal to continue military training on these lands. And so you have to look at the cumulative impact. And the definition in the law is past, present, and future. So you need to look at the impacts not only on state land, but beyond state land, because without the state land, other areas would not be affected. The military training would not be able to continue. So you need to look at those cumulative impacts, cultural, endangered species, groundwater, etc. And I think it's particularly important in your motion that you call for the Army to specifically identify with far more specificity than it has how much ordinance remains on littering public land. That's a pretty big tenet of the Chingri case. And I think you, as trustees, need to ensure that the EIS discloses how much ordinance is left. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
Hello, my kako. Max Phillips. I am the Hawaii Director and Staff Attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity. The EIS, as it stands before you, is dangerously incomplete. We've heard all day numerous reasons, but this document does not support informed decision making, which is what's required under our HIPAA, and accepting it would put this board in direct conflict with your duties to Hawaii, to Luhui. So we urge you to please oppose.
Aloha, my name is Pōhakuloa. I'm from Kailua, Oahu. I urge the board to vote to reject this EIS and vote to do it today. We've heard a lot today from the military about state-of-the-art, premier facility. We've heard this all before, and we heard it at Red Hill. And I've been inside Red Hill after the spills. There's nothing state-of-the-art about cleaning up PFAS and oil spills with Home Depot buckets. And you can't use Home Depot buckets to pick up and clean up depleted uranium. They admit that they haven't done a comprehensive inventory of cultural sites. So it may be par for the course for the military to bomb what they don't know, but that's not acceptable. And they also state in their EIS that their wildfire mitigation plan is to research new tech. In a post-Lahaina wildfire world, that's not enough. We know that's not enough. We don't need to wait until the next Red Hill disaster. We don't need to wait for the next Lahaina. We see all of the symptoms of what is wrong with the system, and you guys have the power to stop that. So I ask you to stop that. Don't give them another chance to fool us one more time. If they fool us once, shame on them. Fool us twice, what are we doing? You know? We have a chance to stop them before they do more damage, before they put more people at risk. We don't need another aquifer poison like we had here. End it today, kill this EIS, and don't let them bring it up again. Thank you.
Hello, my kako. My name is Julie Ward, community member and member of Jewish Voice for Peace Hawaii. I write in strong opposition to the acceptance of the FEIS. This EIS is deeply flawed, and I urge you to listen to both your own staff who have called out issues as well as our Kanaka community members today. I stand on my written testimony, but want to call attention to one particular issue, that is my kuleana as a Jewish settler living in diaspora, in unwavering solidarity with my Kanaka comrades as well as with Palestine. The Army said this morning this land is critical for national defense, security, and to deter conflict. Aside from the fact that Hawaiians have not asked for the US military's protection, and the so-called protection has always manifested as destruction and harm, it's not just here in Hawaii that this destruction encompasses. The EIS fails to mention the environmental impact and human rights violations around the world that result from the work at Pōhakuloa, that these are substantive comments from the draft that have not been addressed. It has been proven that bombs and white phosphorus tested at Pōhakuloa are being used in genocide against Palestinians as we speak. Their testing and practice is therefore proven to be for offense for the US to aid in killing and maiming women and children through their proxy of Israel, for more land grabs and more natural resource grabs, and to carry out their interest in destabilizing and uprooting more indigenous peoples. The US military and their testing is what is creating a world in where no one is safe and people the world over are struggling to survive. Their testing and work here actually escalates conflict rather than abates them, as they claim. By voting not to accept the EIS today, you are voting to protect more than just Hawaii and the Aina here, but to protect Palestinians who grew up knowing exactly what the US insignia on a bomb looks like. These impacts must and should be included in this EIS, as it is directly from the testing and training at Pōhakuloa that is affecting all these areas, and should that training cease, then Palestinians and people the world over will be more safe. And so the comments should be included. So in closing, just return Hawaii to Hawaiians and help protect indigenous people the world over. Thank you.